it's really good that we don't all agree on everything. It's really good that we can debate and argue and disagree to the point where that's how progress is made, in my opinion. And I'm just shocked. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore. We're back with Whiskey Wednesday with my main man, Jake Shehee.
Yes, sir.
What's up, buddy?
Feeling good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Man, great day to be alive, huh?
Great day to be alive. Let's
feeling amazing.
Let's roll into it today. Hey, listen, we kind of went in our world a little viral with one post went a little viral. We got some followers.
Yeah. You know what time it is, dude.
Just so you know, if you're not following us on Instagram, you might want to.
Check it out.
Jump on the bandwagon. We got a few extra people following us.
It's not a big deal or anything like that. We're just big time, but it's not that big deal. It
was a parenting advice or parenting.
Yeah, the Travis or Jason Kelsey and his wife with the bat phones. And then you gave your hot take, and it just blew up.
We weighed in on our phone. And then from then on, we've had a nice little jump.
Hey, can't complain.
Hey, let's keep it going.
I know. Okay. All right, today's episode. This is what we're going over. We got, of course,
more parenting stuff.
We got Charlie Kirk, the whole thing that happened there. Then we'll dive into, that's our one main topic for people listening. And then we're going into short-term rental stuff. We have how to invest. We got this question, how to invest if you don't have a lot of capital. Slowing down in your 60s, what does that look like? Airbnb just released this new, concierge service is how I guess I should call it for right now, and what that looks like. And then we keep getting these emails and questions about all these other platforms, so we're going to tackle that as well. First and foremost, here we go, the Charlie Kirk thing, devastating thing that happened. Kind of course, wanted to, I don't want to get any political on it or in any kind of way, but kind of just talk about how this is, in my opinion, it's kind of a scary thing. It's kind of just, it's scary when it comes to just talking. If someone has a differing opinion and someone's talking and this is where it's getting. So it really, really is a sad situation. First and foremost, being a husband, a father of two young kids. I mean, I can't, I can't even imagine what his family's going through. They were there watching that. I mean, it's just it's horrific. Yeah. And then you go down to the underlying issue of. Really? I know.
That's where we're at. I mean, really, we can't sit and debate and argue and disagree without being
violent.
Yeah.
In the most the darkest, deepest way. Yeah. Yeah. Taking a life, that's crazy.
I think that at some point, and I do think that we have to have, the media has to start taking some responsibility for, hey, listen, let's not call everybody racist and fascists and Nazis and bigots and homophobes and everything else because we disagree with certain things that they do. I mean, the problem with it is you're seeing that people, especially young people, are taking, it seems, this so literal, and they're getting so riled up and they're so upset.
I know. And
that they feel like that this is the means to solve the problem. And it's really, really pathetic. I mean, we hear about, you got people celebrating, saying,
that's a crazy point. Yeah, that's a crazy, I mean, it's so crazy I'm scrolling on social media and you see people laughing, saying terrible things like, it's about time, he deserved it, somebody had to do it. And you're like, guys, what are we talking? You got to be in a dark place, mentally, spiritually, to want murder on a husband, father. I mean, that's terrible. He got 1 year with his son. He got 2 years with his daughter. I mean, that's a tough situation to wish hate on. And then it's scary because if, you look at other people that are debaters or that have opposing opinions, if you look at people that just speak on stages, do you get fear from that now? Do they go, man, I don't know if I want to keep doing this because what if somebody takes my life and now I'm not with my family? Yeah. And it's kind of this
and how are we even to this stage? And I think we have to look and say, why are we here? And I do think it is the messaging that is put out there, the way that the things are portrayed. Let people argue, let them debate, let them disagree, and understand that that's part of progress. I mean, you're never going to progress and grow anything without disagreeing with the status quo, right? Or what's going on. And it's okay to disagree with them. But really celebrating somebody's death or thinking that this is how we're going to solve this problem.
I know.
And then doubling down when something like this happens as if it was somehow deserved is pathetic. You should be able to, I mean, we live in America. You should be able to say and believe and argue and debate and do all of those different things that we love about living here without fearing that somebody's sitting on a rooftop and you're in their crosshairs, right? And it is scary, I think, for either side, both sides, to say, hey, listen, can I go out here and talk about this without having somebody so upset that they're going to take me out? And, and I think that you have to look at the commonalities between what's going on in some of the things that are happening. I think you got to look at the commonalities in what's going on when it comes to, the profiles of the people doing this. Yeah. And
that's my point.
A lot of times, we want to just immediately go to the guns. I mean, this was a single action, bolt action rifle. A bolt action rifle is just any like hunting gun that you would shoot. I mean, you can't fire off a whole bunch of shots. Right. It's a bolt action single lever. Like you bolt it one round in, one round at a time. It's not like you're just, like it's not an assault rifle.
Yeah, he was going for one person. It wasn't a mass thing. He wanted one person.
But the commonality is, and I mean, obviously, there's mental instability between every single one of these shootings. I mean, the same day or the day after, I can't remember if it was the same day or not.
Same day, Colorado
school shooting. I mean, we've got to look and say, hey, listen, why are young kids in getting to the point where this is like, one, they're desensitized to this stuff. Yeah. You could make the argument probably a lot of different ways with the things that they're consuming online, the games that they're playing, the things that they're doing that seem so realistic that just is like, they almost are desensitized and removed from that type of a situation. That the reality of, and the finality of just you pull a trigger, it's over, right? Yeah. And it's like, that doesn't solve any problems. And when you look, and I'm not going to dive into it, anybody listening can dive into it. You look at the profile of a lot of these school shooters, a lot of these, these people that are doing these assassination attempts and assassinations at this stage now. The backgrounds are very similar, and
younger and younger.
Yeah, and the background of what they're diving into, what they're indoctrinated to, and what their beliefs are, and a lot of it is just also they're getting so riled up because they're getting this confirmation of their beliefs, on steroids. Yeah. When they hear somebody like a Charlie Kirk and you disagree with him for whatever reason, and all of a sudden you've got this, this big media conglomerate that just, I mean, everything is just like it goes from 0 to 100 miles an hour over like in seconds. Yeah. And the narrative goes to one extreme or the other in seconds. And it's I think it's hard for young people to process that. Yeah. And they, a lot of it is just confirming what their own anger and their own, things that somebody might say. And they feel like, okay, this is, I'm not the only one. Yeah. Maybe this is right. And you just add fuel to that fire. I don't know.
I mean, it's tough because I feel like at some point, do you blame the parents at all for instilling this kind of, I don't know if it's like a nurture versus nature type of thing, but wanting to go take somebody's life is like, that's a new mental thing, right? Yeah. So at some point, is it the nurture versus nature? Do you hold the parents accountable in any way, shape, or form and go, what's going on here? Or is this just...
Well, I think there's a lot of the nurture that we have to look at. I don't think it's nature. You don't have that many kids that
all of a sudden,
natural born killers, right?
Yeah.
You're not, right? There's not a spike of natural born killers. Right. So there is a lot of nurture, whether it's, and it's probably a combination. And maybe it's parents. Maybe it's the, all the stuff they're consuming online. Maybe it's the media that's forcing a lot of this narrative down our throats and all those different things. And I remember when everybody was calling, pretty much anybody that was a Republican a fascist. And I was, and I started looking up the definition of a fascist. And I'm like, I mean, it's confusing as hell, first of all, to like even read the definition. I couldn't even pronounce half the words. Maybe that tells you something about me. But I was like, I mean, okay, like like I read it and I'm like, okay, it seems like it's written by somebody in academia and doesn't really tell me a whole hell of a lot other than maybe it's like a dictator, somebody that is very authoritarian, those types of things obviously have those tendencies. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what really is it? And but it sounds really bad, and everybody's repeating it, and everybody's talking about it. At one point, they would talk about people being Nazis, and which is the fascists and the Nazis seem to go hand in hand. But if you're a kid and you're listening to that stuff, and you hear something that you're maybe interested in that other side is not that interested in, or maybe thinks is wrong, and you just jump on that bandwagon. And I think that there's a lot of that to where that nurture just starts to spiral out of control, right? Because of the confirmation bias that all the algorithms have and everything else, because that's what they're trying to do is really confirm our own beliefs, rile us up to a point where at this stage, I don't know if that's their end goal or not. I don't think it is. I would hope it's not to have these types of things happen, but who knows? I mean, why wouldn't we put an end to it? Why wouldn't we try to nurture a more positive dialogue, a more positive outcome? Hey, listen, it's really good that we don't all agree on everything. It's really good that we can debate and argue and disagree to the point where that's how progress is made, in my opinion. And I'm just shocked that we're to the point now where it's like, okay, if you don't believe what I believe, I'm going to disown you. We can't talk to each other. We can't, I know. There used to be a time I was talking to my grandpa. My grandpa's 90 years old and registered Democrat. And, very, very conservative leaning Democrat, but, he's a registered Democrat. And he said, I remember when, like on our same block and neighborhood, me and Bill were a Democrat and Joe and Dave were Republicans, and we'd have a beer and talk about the different things that we did, but we were never mad at each other. We were never like in such a disagreement that we couldn't stand, either side. And I feel like we're like getting to that stage with everything now. It's like pick a side. Yeah. And if you pick that side, then you have to hate the other one. And then at this stage, celebrate when harm comes to them. I mean, come on. We're better than that.
And it's scary when you look at other things, and I guess maybe it's, I'm trying to parallel these two, but if I look at like, younger kids with technology, laptops or iPads or cell phones or whatever, and there's a parallel. That's just become a norm now. That's like a norm, and kids are growing up with it, and that's how it is. But now I'm worried, is this going to become a norm that people are just growing up with it and go, oh yeah, this is, you don't like someone's opinion, you just go take them out.
No.
You go take them out. This is like a norm.
It's not going to become the norm.
I hope
I'll tell you it's not. I think that there is going to be a tipping point for sure. And I think that there is, because that's not how we're naturally built, right? And we're not natural born killers. We're not we don't naturally want harm to come upon somebody else. And I think that we all have to look in the mirror and say, how can we solve this problem? There's probably multiple things that everybody needs to start to consider, but I do believe that people will start to do it, because there's no way that most of us want to live in a world that you can't go out and disagree with somebody and speak and have an opposing viewpoint for fear of being able to be shot down from a rooftop. That's ridiculous.
And that seems like his whole thing, Charlie's whole thing was he goes to these places and let's just debate. Let's just talk. You don't agree? Let's hear why. Right. Let's go back and forth. And so that's just scary when you could have gone and voiced your opinion, Do you think a death penalty needs to be?
Yes, 100%.
I agree.
Me
and Jacob were talking about it like, come on, this seems like.
I'm old school when it comes to that stuff too. I'm not I do think 100%. You do something like that, you're done. Yeah. You shouldn't be. I don't want to pay for you in prison. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with any of it. I think that we need to try to learn from it, but I think that is and that's that's another everybody has an opposing viewpoint of that, right? And so I respect that.
Yeah. Okay. This is my last thing. This is like my fun conspiracy of it. This is my okay. Then you tell me what you think. Okay. The same day that Charlie Kirk was shot. So sad. The Senate passed blocked a bill that was going to pass 51-49. They blocked a bill that would force the Department of Justice to release the Epstein list and all the files and names. They blocked it the same day. So you go, oh, it reminded me of the same thing whenever COVID happened and Trump came out and he goes, everyone's got to stay in their houses till Easter. And then the Pentagon released, hey, we have crafts that are not from this earth, by the way. And it was kind of like fly under the radar type thing. And I go, oh man, it's just scary, dude. It's so scary how these things are just happen and other things just get put on top and it piles and it's just scary. You know, it's tough, but all right. So that was our our 15-minute rant there.
On our hot topic.
On our hot topic, controversial one of the day.
Okay, all
right, here we go.
Let's dive into stuff we actually know what we're talking about.
I know. All right, here we go. Let me read this question. This is from Mike. I am very interested in vacation home investing, but don't have the capital to invest. So I need to understand how to get funding to make this happen. If you can give me the steps to get started, funding options, and minimum investments needed, that would be great.
Awesome. Yeah. So common question, Mike. And so we have this sent in to us on a regular basis, actually. And it is as much as I love short-term rentals. Yeah. And as much as we double down with them and we built, quite a lifestyle with them and helped a lot of people do the same, then they are an asset class that requires more capital typically than other asset classes. For the simple fact of there are creative financing options on the purchase. You can do lots of different loan programs. You can partner with people on the purchase. Maybe get some seller financing, all those different things that are very similar to other asset classes. With short-term rentals, though, there's additional money that we need to spend on the front end. And it is very front-end capital intensive. And so not only do you have to have your down payment acquisition money, and maybe that's a lot, maybe it's 10, 20%, depending on your loan program, maybe that's a little, maybe it's a zero down seller financing deal that you were able to negotiate with the seller. Great. Whatever that is, you've got your acquisition costs of down payment. Then you've got this furnishing and setup cost. And this is where a lot of people don't budget correctly. Right. And they actually, even people who are very well-intentioned, they're like, hey, listen, I want to create a great experience, everything else. It's why we're able to crush people in this game, frankly. Right. It's one of our advantages is we know the money it's going to take. We budget for that. In fact, sometimes we will buy less properties so that we have more money on the back end to create these amazing experiences. And a lot of times that's just really a price per square foot. We're usually budgeting somewhere around $50 to $55 per square foot on the back end. Okay. Usually it's about $40 a square foot to furnish and set up a property. You got to have another $5 to $10 a square foot, depending on what kind of resort style amenities you're going to invest in type things. Like, the bigger ticket items, pickleball courts, saunas, hot tubs, those types of things. And so we're going to have a little bit of an extra budget for that kind of stuff, because we know that if we do budget for that and we do spend the money there, on the back end, it's going to be much easier for us on the marketing side, on the customer acquisition side, and we can charge more money, and the economics on the back end just look better for us. And so this is where that money comes into play, because you can't usually lump those things into a mortgage. You can't, put 10% down and finance the other 90% of it. Usually that's coming right out of your pocket. And so, maybe you put it on a credit card and you get no interest for 6 or 12 months, but at the end of the day, that bill comes due, right? And so you're that's a big chunk of change usually that is equal to or sometimes more than the down payment that you put down on a property. And so, but that is because we're in the experience business, because we're trying to bring these properties to life in this immersive experience, because that's what we're selling on the back end, that is required to operate toward the top of these markets. And so when it comes to being able to do that, maybe you bring on a partner, that somebody that will do that. That's the only creative way to do that, is to bring on an equity partner or somebody that has more money than they have time, and hopefully you have more time and knowledge, and you can partner up and put these deals together. But at the end of the day, that's one of the drawbacks of short-term rentals, is the capital on the front end that it takes to bring these properties to life. And so it comes down to really budgeting it correctly, and then figuring out how you're going to get that. A lot of times that is, it's either saving up, buckling down, old school, like, hey, I'm going to spend a lot less than I make so that I can ultimately do this down the line at some point, and or bring on a partner. The problem with bringing on a partner, in my opinion, is it becomes, if you're bringing on a money partner, what do I bring to the table? Let's say I'm coming to you as a money partner. You're expecting my expertise and my management skills and my deal making skills and all that to be, you know, like if you're gonna put all the money in the deal, you're expecting me to bring something to the deal. And if it's not the money, it better be something valuable, which is, do I actually know how to do this deal? Do I understand the underwriting? Do I understand how to make this deal come to life? Do I understand all the ins and outs of short-term rentals? New investors, the answer to that question usually is no, they don't. And so it becomes very irresponsible to go bring on money partners in a deal that you're not very necessarily an expert in. And so you have to be, in my opinion, again, my opinion is just what it is, right? I mean, you know, you could disagree with it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that go out and say, hey, listen, if you're new to the game, you don't have money, go bring on a money partner. There's tons of people with money that don't have time to do these deals. The issue is, man, you want to talk about having to be careful with your own money. You better be way more careful with somebody else's money. Yeah. And you better be an expert.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go down this route. What if instead of a stranger money partner, what if you came in with a family member, your parents have the money. They go, you know, the 401k is not really working out for us. What about that? You know, the battle in my head becomes, what if one person, you know, what if you go, Mom, Dad, I really want to do this. I think this will be beneficial. They go, okay, we've been kind of looking into it too. Let's do it. And you go, we need to go all out on the design. And they go, but what if we design it this way? That seems like that could be a little bit, you know, or they go, I want to use it during these months. And you go, Mom, Dad, that's like the hot months. So we need to put it. How do you feel about that?
It goes that next layer. If you are going to take somebody else's money, you better have very, very clear expectations of what that money is going to be used for, what the game plan is, how you're going to operate the property, manage the property, who's going to be able to use it, when they're going to be able to use it before you take the money.
Right.
You know, that's not a conversation you have after you take the money, you've invested in the property. Once somebody says, yeah, I'm interested, then you're saying, okay, awesome. Here's how it's going to work. Here's the plans. We're going to actually set up an operating agreement that's going to spell out exactly how we do this so that everybody's on the same page. And then we just follow that to a T. Right. And so then that conversation, if there is, you know, disagreements on the operations of the deal and the investments of where the money's going and where it's going to be spent, you know that before you take the money. You know that before you spend the money. Right. Because, and you need to know that because, you know, and even when it comes down, the biggest mistake is with friends and family because we think we're all on the same page. We think that just because we're all really great friends that we're all going to see the world from the exact same lens and we're all going to agree on everything. It's not the case. Right. And so that we're built to all have different views of everything. And when you start running down that road, if you haven't had that conversation on the front end, it becomes a problem or can become a problem if you disagree.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a really fun one to think about in my head, especially if you know, even if you want to go with like a friend. Yeah. You know, like a really close friend, you know, both of you guys are watching this podcast and like, let's just do this thing together and I'll handle the down payment and you handle the design, and man, that could get tricky. So, you know.
Well, and if you're going to handle the design, let's say you do that. Let's say I'm going to handle the down payment. You're going to handle the design. That means that when you're doing the design, I don't get to come in and say, hey, Jake, I don't like that design. Let's do it this way. It's like, no, I agreed that I was going to do that part of it. Right. And usually you set up those agreements based on expertise, right? And so if it's just hey, we're both brand new into this, we both want to do this, let's combine our buying power, we're both going to put equitable money in, we're going to split up tasks, that's another way to do it as well. But a lot of times in Mike's question is, hey, I don't have a lot of capital, I really want to do this, how do I do it? Well, naturally you start to think about partners, and whether that is a stranger partner or more likely it's somebody that knows you, a friend or a family member. And it's a level of responsibility. You need to look in the mirror and say, should I be taking somebody else's money? Do I know this asset class well enough? And am I a big enough expertise in this asset class to responsibly take somebody else's money and put it into play?
Yeah. And then man, you're saying that and it begs the question, why even work with you? you don't even have the knowledge or the money of this.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't the person with the money just come straight to Vodyssey?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, let's just cut you out then. You're going to take up time or space or whatever. So man, you better be careful. It seems like a very thing.
You need to be an expert in it and invest in what it takes to really understanding a deal, understanding underwriting, understanding the back end, building in contingencies, all of those different things. And usually, in my opinion, you should not be taking other people's money on your first, second, third, fourth, or fifth deal. You do some on your own. Go do some deals.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
learn, experience.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And so you should be building that experience before you bring somebody on as a money partner.
Yeah. It makes total sense. All right, this next article, I want to bring this up. Once again, Yahoo Finance. They're one of my favorites, man. I love checking this because they do some great articles here. Okay. And so I'm reading this, and it's interesting to me because different stages in your life, you know. So here's the article. Let's just read the headline, and then I'll get into it. This says, think 2.5 million makes you rich. At 40, you're top 5%, but at 60, you're not even close. Okay, so here he goes. Most people feel like they've made it once they hit 2.5 million net worth. And in your 40s, that's true. You've officially sitting among the top 5% of households in your age group. Pop that champagne. But here's the twist. Fast forward to your 60s, and that same number doesn't even get you into the top 10%. Ooh, suddenly what once screamed elite looks more like doing fine. The rules of wealth don't just change with age. They move the goalposts entirely. So that interests me, you know, because I'm thinking at a 40-year-old, it sounds great, right? You've made it, but then what are you doing with your money, with your assets? Because at some point, in 20 years, man, you've completely dropped. The goalposts are gone. Yeah. So then that begs the question, okay, of course, short-term rentals, that's what we preach here. But then here's another flip side of the coin. At 60, you've worked years, decades, right? You want to relax. You want to enjoy those, you know, I'm sure an empty nester, those, you know, later years, right? So then this, in my opinion, that's why property management is such a huge key to this. Does that kind of make sense where I'm going with this?
Tell me what you're thinking on property management.
I'm thinking like, you know, if I have the money at 40, right? I go, let's invest it so that by time 60, I'm not falling behind, and let's keep compounding. Let's get short-term rentals. But at the same time, I want to relax, man. I had kids. I've done X, Y, and Z.
So you're saying you don't want that second job anymore?
I don't want the second job. Right. Let's let the property manager just take over. Let's get a little cut. Let's do the taxes, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's kind of like, you know, because the self-management seems to be a big option, but when those later years, right, you're keeping up with the times, keeping up with the Airbnb, increasing the fines or adding this or that. It's let somebody else take over. Right. Huh?
So I would think of it a little more the opposite.
Okay, let's do it.
So in my 40s, I'm at my peak earning years. Really, from 40 to 60 is going to be your peak earning years. So you got 20-year run to start, you know, really capitalizing on that active income. Our active income is in there, and it's, you know, we're making that money, but I've got to make my money, right? I've got a job. And at that time I might have the money to invest, but I don't have the time to manage these properties. So why not start to double down with property management at that point and say, hey, listen, I don't have time for a second job. I do want to start stacking assets though, so that by the time I'm 60, a lot of these properties are close to being paid off. They're cash flowing. Right. They've appreciated significantly by that point. Right. And so my net worth is continuing to get to that, stay in the top 5%, maybe even up in the top 1% if I'm smart about it. And then ultimately in my 60s, when I do have more time, I can say, hey, listen, I've got this portfolio of 5 or 6 properties now. It's making pretty good money. Maybe I'm making, you know, say I'm making $500,000 a year on my properties. Let's say I'm netting $250 a year, and off the top on that 500, they're taking 25% property management fees. That's paying another $125,000 in property management fees. I might look at that in my 60s and say, hey, listen, I'm done with my day job. Yeah. But I wouldn't mind managing 5 or 6 properties. I'm paying a property manager $125,000 a year to do that. why don't I just take that 125 and manage the properties, have a part-time job,
Right.
be able to relax a little bit more, slow things down, have my portfolio, basically be able to tap into that. But also I've got a little bit of an extra income with a kind of a part-time job that I created for myself that was building the last 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, dude, I kind of like it. I like how now this is the beauty of disagreeing, huh?
Yeah, right. We look at 2 different ways to look at it.
All right. That's really interesting. Okay. Man, that makes sense. I like that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That goes in. Let's go into my next article here.
Okay.
Airbnb newsroom. This was released yesterday.
Okay.
They released at least the newer option of the chefs. They partnered with these 5 chefs, but their whole thing is Airbnb services. They have chefs, photography, massage, spa treatments, personal training, hair, makeup, nails, prepared meals, catering. And it immediately just reminded me of how we've talked about concierge services, how, okay, you look at Airbnb newsroom and they're going to implement these things where you can hire these, like the 5 best chefs in the world, Jamie Oliver, Chris Bianco, all these great chefs, right, that are going to come and cook for you and your group. Yeah. And then we've talked about this. So now if this is going to be like a new thing that people are clearly going to start posting on social media saying, oh, we met Jamie Oliver, he cooked for us, maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of have this in your back pocket. Have these concierge services because people clearly want this. There's a need for this. They want this. Yeah. Airbnb is providing it.
Yeah.
So
I love I love that Airbnb is making it easier for us to add those concierge services on. I mean, we're, like we've always said, we're in the experience business. Having those personalized, unique experiences that we can pay extra for, right? And be able to tap into. Private chefs are a huge one. And so they're saying, hey, listen, we're going to bring in, 5 celebrity chefs and be able to, they're just kind of, what they're doing here is this is just a promotional, media, like promotional deal where they're saying, hey, listen, we want to bring light to the fact that we can do this in our properties now. Right. There's not that many properties who are going to have Jamie Oliver. Right. Yeah. But what they're doing is they're bringing these 5 chefs in, like letting a certain number of people have this great experience, but more importantly, they're trying to raise awareness for the services, right? For the Airbnb services, which is, and it does include private chefs, but also a range of other things. Yeah. And I think it's great. We've been doing it for a long time. We've been suggesting it for a long time for a lot of our members to make sure that they are looking into those local service providers that they can be able to, even just at the very simple stage of just saying, hey, make it an option to have a fridge fully stocked for your guests that are coming in and find out what they want. And you can have that fridge stocked for them. They can pay extra and just have it ready for them when they get there. So they don't have to stop at the grocery store on their way in. Right. And private chefs are the next level of that, saying, hey, listen, we'll bring in a private chef. It's a couple $100 a person for the celebrity chefs, but really it's not. A lot of times it's $50 to $80 a person. And you can have a chef come in, cook a 3-course meal for you. It's awesome, right?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's really fun. And it can be in a lot of areas now. And thanks to a large part into Airbnb, giving these, the chefs and the massage people and the
nails and hair and makeup, all this,
a platform to go tap into. Say the areas they service, so us as hosts we can go in and say, hey, awesome, Jake cooks private meals in this area. Let's go check him out. Yeah. And it marries the two, because the hardest part before Airbnb was doing this was really finding those service providers. We're like, man, we really want somebody to come in and cook. We really want to do this. And so you're talking to your property managers, you're talking to some of the local experts in the area, maybe your realtors, some of those people that are they're in the area, saying, hey, do you know any private chefs? And then looking them up online sometimes can be difficult. And so just having a platform that you can tap into now is kind of nice.
Yeah, man, that seems really nice. I mean, I would be awesome to go to a nice cabin in the woods and someone shows up for a couple's massage if you got that kind of thing. But then that follows me into my next question of, last week we talked about riches are in the niches. And if I have a game day property, maybe I don't offer the hair, or no, correct me if I'm wrong, if I offer the hair and nails and that kind of thing, but maybe I offer a fully stocked fridge of beer or whatever it is, or
barbecue,
a
you know,
barbecue type thing.
Like, hey,
so,
we're gonna come cook you a brisket and
Yeah.
barbecue a
Oh,
beer,
bro,
and, you know,
come
for
on.
game day, right?
that sounds like a
The
great
tailgate experience, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, the hair nails might be the bachelorette pad in Nashville, right?
Right.
And so, there's a lot of ways to go about it. I like that Airbnb is doing that. I think it's a nice way for hosts to be able to tap into those different services, and ultimately our guests to be able to tap into those services when they come visit our properties.
Yeah, that's a memorable experience for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing here. We keep getting, or at least I know we keep getting these emails, DMs, blah, 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 about people that have created their own platforms. You know, they're cutting out the middleman. You know, people don't have to pay this Airbnb fee, the Verbo fee, whatever it is. Just direct Bookly on our website. You know, I don't know if some of our members are also getting those kinds of emails or whatever. And my question is, do you even give those any time of day? Or do you go, just stick with the main OTAs? They're the main for a reason.
Right. No, I don't. I
Okay.
do. I stick to the main OTAs.
Okay.
Most of them, we build our own direct booking sites. And so they're individual property sites for our own direct bookings. We understand how to run traffic to them. We understand how to convert with them. And so for the most part, it's either going to be our own direct booking site to cut out the middleman. But really, you're not cutting out the middleman. Because you need the middleman for the eyeballs, for the consumer, right? We're using those OTAs because they have millions of consumers on there spending money on these types of properties. So we want, it's no different than if I'm selling something on Amazon and I'm like, hey, I've got my own little storefront, but I want to expand to the masses. I love selling at my own little storefront on, 123 Main Street in, my hometown, right? But that's the only people who see that are the people on 123 Main Street in my hometown. And so I go to Amazon because they've got millions of consumers buying that stuff from all over the world.
Right.
That's why we tap into the OTAs. And so you're going to pay something for that. Yeah, so there's a cost to doing business. There's a cost to customer acquisition. There is going to be a cost to acquire a customer on direct bookings as well. We pay, like in our case, Instagram, Facebook for ads. Send them traffic to our site, convert that traffic.
Right.
Now I don't have Airbnb fees and everything, but I have fees to Meta
fees,
basically to run my ads. And so a lot of these direct booking websites that say cut out the middleman, no fees, no this, no that. Ultimately, traffic has to come from somewhere. And so if they're not charging you anything, that means maybe you're responsible for driving traffic to that site. If it's not an individual website, I wouldn't spend $1 sending traffic to somebody else's site. So I would build my own and do that. If I find a site that has, maybe it's a little niche, maybe it's not a big OTA like Airbnb or Vrbo, and they say, hey, listen, we're the backcountry hikers, vacation rental site, right? And I have a property that fits that niche, and they've got all those people, and they're saying, hey, Shawn, you can come on my site and you can list here, and we take 8% of your booking fee. If you want to get in front of our consumers. Well, if that's my target audience, I might be interested in that. And being on some of those smaller sites that are doing that. But at the end of the day, those direct booking sites, the ones I look into, I prefer to build our own single property websites. It's a big deal. And we won't dive into all the reasons why that's a big deal. But a single property website is where you want to run your traffic to. And so if it's just a fancy direct booking site and it's not a single property website, and driving your traffic is going to be a waste of your money.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Because I feel like when I read these emails and stuff, I go, it just doesn't, there's got to be a fee somewhere, man. Yeah, especially if you don't have the eyeballs already.
Money. Yeah. And so, you're going to be charging for a transaction, right? And if you've got a whole bunch of eyeballs and a whole bunch of consumers, you're going to charge me to tap into those. If you don't, you're going to say, hey, listen, go use our website. It's $30 a month to use our website, no fees, no whatever, but there's no traffic to it. You still have to send your traffic. Well, if it's not a single property website, which most of them aren't, that's why I keep saying that. Most of them are not single property websites that really have one goal in mind, which is to capture the consumer's information. Essentially, most people are not going to book right out of the gate. You just have to know that. So you have to be able to get their attention. And if I'm going to drive traffic and spend money on those platforms to drive that traffic, it better be to my own site that I can control. And most of these are not.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. All right, that's all we had for today. That's it.
Okay, awesome, guys. Well, listen, we will wrap it up. hopefully you got gained some knowledge from that one. We covered kind of a lot of topics. I feel like we covered more topics than we normally do. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we have.
Well, we had a couple good ones. I mean, the main one was serious, and then we go into some other little subcategories here. But yeah, it's a good one.
Awesome, guys. Well, listen, we know how valuable your time is. We always appreciate you spending it with us at the end of these episodes. You guys know, ask you 2 favors. The first one is, if you know somebody that would like the show as much as you do, share the show. Those things help us grow it. We don't run ads or sponsorships on this show. And so the only way it grows is if you guys like it, review it, or share it on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. And the final, most important thing, I ask you at the end of every episode, pick that one thing you can do today to start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website?
Yes! For more amazing content and expert advice, visit Vodyssey.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.